The bell above the cafe door jingled like a warning shot, but Celeste didn't look up from wiping down the espresso machine. Not until the sharp click of heels on the terracotta tiles cut through the hum of the early morning crowd. There she was, Eleanor, her stepmother, striding in like she owned the place, her designer purse swinging like a pendulum of judgment. "Celeste," she said, voice slicing the air, "this little experiment of yours. I always knew it would come to this." Charlie froze mid-pour at the far end of the counter, her hand trembling just enough to slosh crema onto the saucer. The café, Celeste's café. Her dream etched into every exposed brick wall and hand-painted mural of blooming jacarandas. Suddenly felt too small, the scent of fresh croissants turning sour in the air. Eleanor's eyes locked on Charlie, then flicked back to Celeste with that familiar mix of pity and disdain. And bringing her into the family business? Pathetic. Celeste's heart slammed against her ribs, but she straightened, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Barcelona's morning light slanted through the arched windows of La Flor Oculta, gilding the mismatched chairs and the chalkboard menu scrawled with specials in Celeste's looping script. It was supposed to be a sanctuary, this tucked-away spot in the Gothic Quarter, where locals whispered over cortados and tourists marveled at the hidden courtyard strung with fairy lights. But Eleanor had a way of turning havens into battlegrounds, ever since she'd married Celeste's father a decade ago, right after the funeral that left Celeste adrift at 18. "Table for one?" Celeste asked, voice steady as she tucked a curl behind her ear. At 28 she built this life brick by brick, importing beans from Colombian co-ops run by women, hiring baristas who'd fled Franco's long shadows. Charlie had been the spark, wandering in 2 years ago with her sketchbook and a grin that promised chaos and comfort in equal measure. Eleanor slid onto a stool, her silk blouse whispering against the leather. "Black coffee, no sugar, and make it quick. I'm not here for the ambience." She glanced around, lips curling. "Though I suppose this is what passes for taste in your circle." Charlie shot Celeste a look. "You okay?" And Celeste nodded, subtle as a shared secret. They'd met in an art supply shop off La Rambla, Charlie 25 and fierce, her fingers stained with charcoal from murals that screamed against the world's quiet cruelties. A lesbian in a city that had decriminalized love like there's only in 79, but Spain still carried scars, families fractured, whispers in confessional booths. Charlie's own mother had disowned her at 16. She'd rebuilt in Barcelona's bohemian underbelly, painting portraits that captured souls in stolen glances. As Celeste ground the beans, the whir of the machine drowned out the chatter of the two elderly women in the corner, debating the latest on the Placa rail fountain. Eleanor drummed her nails, each tap a reminder of the life she tried to force on Celeste. The Madrid finishing school, the suitable suitors from old money families. After Dad's heart attack, Eleanor had swooped in, selling the family villa in the Costa Brava to fund her gallery in Salamanca, leaving Celeste with nothing but a tarnished silver locket and a trust fund she'd refused on principle. The coffee steamed as Celeste set it down. "That'll be €3. Eleanor's laugh was brittle, like autumn leaves underfoot. €3? For this swill? She pushed the cup away untouched, the dark liquid sloshing perilously close to the saucer's edge. Heads turned, the American couple by the window, the barista prepping pastries in the back. "I'm family, Celeste. Or have you forgotten that along with everything else decent?" Charlie stepped closer, wiping her hands on her apron. "Ma'am, payment. We don't do family discounts here." Eleanor's gaze snapped to her, venomous. "And who asked you, dear? This is between me and my stepdaughter." The word stepdaughter landed like a slap, laced with the implication that hung unspoken. Not blood, not real. Celeste's throat tightened. She'd invited Eleanor here as an olive branch, a last-ditch effort after months of silence. Dad's anniversary was tomorrow. Maybe coffee could mend the rift widened by Celeste's coming out 3 years ago. The letter she'd sent. "I'm happy, Eleanor. Her name is Charlie. We built this together." Had gone unanswered save for a curt email. "Disgraceful. Don't contact me again." But Eleanor had shown up unannounced, her Mercedes parked crookedly outside like a declaration of war. "You think this place makes you somebody?" she continued, voice rising. "A cafe in some back alley slum, serving overpriced mud to degenerates? Your father would be ashamed." The room hushed. The elderly women clutched their rosaries, The American man pulled out his phone. Charlie's jaw clenched, her green eyes flashing like storm-tossed sea glass. "Get out," she said quietly, but Eleanor ignored her, leaning forward. "I came to offer you a way out. Sell this dump. Come back to Madrid. I can get you a job at the gallery, real work with real people." Her eyes flicked to Charlie again. Away from distractions. Celeste's hands fisted at her sides. "I'm not selling. And Charlie's not a distraction. She's my life." Eleanor's face twisted. "Your life? This perversion you call love? It's why your father died heartbroken, you know? He told me everything. How you broke him with your lies." The lie burned hotter than truth ever could. Dad had known, had hugged her tight the night she confessed, whispering, "Be brave, me Flor." But Eleanor twisted memories like vines, choking the light. Celeste's vision blurred. "Pay for the coffee, Eleanor. Or leave." Instead, Eleanor stood, knocking the cup to the floor. Porcelain shattered, coffee blooming like blood on the tiles. No, not blood, just dark stain, but it felt like a wound reopening. "I won't pay a cent to fund your delusion." She turned toward the door, but not before hissing, "You're no daughter of mine." Charlie moved first, blocking the exit with a calm that belied the tremor in her voice. "You heard her. Pay up." Eleanor laughed again, colder. "Or what? You'll throw me out? Call your little friends in the collectivo." The threat hung, invoking the shadows of 78 riots, when police had beaten marchers demanding rights Celeste now cherished. But this wasn't then. Celeste reached for her phone, fingers numb. "Actually," she said, dialing with deliberate slowness, "I'm calling the police." Eleanor's eyes widened fractionally, shock then fury. "You wouldn't dare." "Watch me." The line connected. "Policia Nacional?"
Sí, Austria la flor oculta. Carré de l'Argenteria.
"There's a woman refusing to pay and causing a disturbance. Family, but it's complicated." Celeste's voice cracked on the last word, but she held firm. Charlie squeezed her hand under the counter, a lifeline in the storm. The café held its breath as sirens wailed, distant, growing nearer. Eleanor blanched, her poise cracking like the shattered cup. "You're ruining everything, Celeste." "For what?" "Her." "For us," Celeste whispered, as blue lights flickered through the window. "For the family I chose." The officers arrived in a flurry. 2 men in crisp uniforms, one with a mustache that twitched sympathetically as Celeste explained, Charlie nodding beside her. Eleanor stood rigid, protesting her rights as a relative, but the law was clear. Property damage, refusal to pay. They escorted her out, her heels scraping like accusations, the doorbell tolling her defeat. As the crowd murmured approval, "Bien hecho, chica," Celeste sank onto a stool, the adrenaline crashing like waves on the Costa Brava. Charlie knelt, gathering shards of porcelain, her touch gentle on Celeste's knee. "You did it. Stood your ground." But victory tasted bittersweet. Tomorrow was Dad's anniversary, and the locket around Celeste's neck felt heavier, engraved with Para Siempre. Eleanor had taken so much, the villa, the photos, the illusion of family. What if this bolt stand cost the last thread? Charlie rose, pulling her into the courtyard where bougainvillea climbed the walls, their petals a riot of pink against stucco. "Hey," she said, cupping Celeste's face. "We're the bold ones. Not her." They kissed then, soft and sure, the world narrowing to the salt on lips from unshed tears. But as dusk fell, painting the sky in bruised purples, Celeste wondered if boldness was enough to heal the fractures, or if it would only widen them. The days blurred after the incident, Barcelona's rhythm pulling Celeste back into the grind. La Flor Oculta buzzed louder than ever. Word spread like wildfire through the neighborhood WhatsApp groups, turning the café into a pilgrimage site for the curious and the supportive. Drag queens from the Chueca scene dropped in with tips triple the bill. A local journalist scribbled notes over encimadas, promising a feature in El Periodico. "The Stepmom siege," he called it, chuckling. Celeste forced a laugh, but inside the victory echoed hollow. Charlie noticed, of course. She always did. That night, as they locked up, the courtyard fountain bubbling softly under strings of Edison bulbs, Charlie tugged her onto the wrought iron bench. "Talk to me, Cel. You've been a ghost since the cops hauled her out." Celeste traced the mosaic tiles with her boot, the design a labyrinth she'd laid herself during renovations. "It's Dad's day tomorrow. I thought, Maybe she'd soften. Come to the cemetery with me like before. Charlie's hand found hers, calluses from brushes rough against smooth skin. Eleanor's poison, not family. Your dad's grave. It's for you and me, not her ghosts. They'd gone last year, Charlie leaving a sketch of jacarandas at the stone. Her way of saying I see you, all of you. But this year the locket burned against Celeste's chest, Eleanor's words replaying. He died heartbroken. Lies, but they festered. Morning came gray. Mist rolling off the Mediterranean like regret. They drove the rented Fiat up the coast to the cemetery near Siges, where rainbow flags fluttered year-round, a nod to the town's queer haven status. The air smelled of pine and sea salt, graves dotted with plastic flowers faded by sun. Dad's plot was simple. A slab-etched Ramon Vega Amado Padre, overlooked by cypresses that whispered in the wind. Celeste knelt, arranging the lilies she bought at the market, white pure, like the peace she craved. Miss you, she murmured, fingers brushing stone. Wish you could see the café. It's thriving. And Charlie. She's magic. Charlie hung back, giving space, but her presence was a steady hum, like the bass line in a flamenco guitar. When Celeste stood, tears carving tracks through sunscreen, Charlie wrapped her in a coat against the chill. He'd be proud of the stand you took. They lingered until noon, sharing stories, Dad's bad jokes, his secret paella recipe that Celeste had tweaked for the menu. Laughter came tentative then full. Driving back, windows down, wind tousling Charlie's hair, Celeste felt the knot loosen. Maybe boldness wasn't a one-off. Maybe it was this claiming space one breath at a time. But Eleanor wasn't done. 2 days later, as Celeste tallied receipts in the office, a cramped nook behind the kitchen, a knock rattled the door. Not the bell. This was deliberate. She opened it to find a courier, envelope in hand. Inside, legal papers crisp and cold. Cease and desist, defamation and harassment. Eleanor's signature scrolled at the bottom, flanked by a Salamanca law firm's letterhead. Celeste's stomach dropped. The complaint alleged she'd publicly humiliated Eleanor, leveraging the café's deviant clientele to orchestrate a false arrest. It demanded 50,000 euros in damages, or the café, collateral for the villa sale, the one Eleanor had pocketed years ago. Charlie found her there, papers scattered like fallen leaves. What the hell? She scanned the text, face paling. This is bullshit. We fight it. But doubt crept in, insidious as fog. The journalist's article had dropped that morning. Café owner stands against family bigotry. Quotes from patrons, a blurry photo of Eleanor's exit. It painted Celeste as hero, but heroes paid bills, and the café's savings were thin, tied up in a delayed supplier payment from a storm-hit harvest. That night, in their apartment above the café, a loft with exposed beams and Charlie's canvases leaning like sentinels, Celeste paced. What if she wins? We lose everything. Charlie pulled her down onto the rug, the city lights twinkling through the skylight. Then we start again. Together. Her kiss was fierce, a promise etched in touch, but Celeste pulled back, the locket catching on fabric. It's not just the café. It's her. Twisting Dad into a weapon. Betraying what little we had left. Charlie's eyes softened, tracing the locket's chain. Betrayal's her language. Ours is love. Remember Ibiza? That summer we met, you sketching the cliffs, me spilling paint on your toes. Celeste smiled faintly, the memory a bomb. Salt air, stolen nights in a fisherman's hut, bodies learning each other under stars indifferent to judgment. Our first real fight was over anchovies. And I won because I make them better. Charlie's grin faded. But seriously, Sel, we go public, our story not hers. Rally the community. The idea ignited something. By dawn they drafted a post for the café's Instagram. La Flor Occulta. Where family is chosen. A photo of the courtyard. Caption weaving the siege into a call for solidarity. Shares exploded, queer collectives in Madrid, expat groups in Barcelona. Donations trickled. A GoFundMe hit $5,000 by lunch. Yet Eleanor escalated. A call came mid-shift, from an unknown number. Celeste answered, steeling herself. Celeste Vega? This is Detective Ruiz, Policia Nacional. Regarding the incident at your establishment. Her blood ran cold. Eleanor had filed a counter-report, claiming assault, emotional distress. The evidence. A doctored video circulating on social media, edited to show Charlie shoving her out the door. It was deepfake subtle. Charlie's hand blurred into a push, Eleanor's face contorted in feigned pain. Ruiz's voice was neutral. We need statements. And Ms. Hargrove, your partner. She should come in. Charlie, overhearing, snatched the phone. It's lies, officer. Check the footage, we have CCTV. But the damage spread. Whispers in the market. That cafe. Trouble. A supplier emailed. Payment delayed? Understood, but... Celeste's hands shook as she frothed milk, steam blurring her vision. The climax brewed that Friday market day in the Boqueria. Eleanor arrived not alone, flanked by 2 men in suits, her lawyers, and a videographer trailing like a shadow. The cafe was packed, a fundraiser underway. Live guitar from a local flamenco artist, tables laden with tapas donated by allies. Pride flags draped the beams, a banner reading "Love serves here." Eleanor entered to gasps, her entourage fanning out. "Celeste," she called, voice carrying over the strum. "Time to end this charade." The music faltered. Patrons turned, phones raised. Celeste emerged from the back, Charlie at her side, both in matching aprons embroidered with jacarandas, their symbol resilient roots in cracked soil. "You here to pay up?" Celeste asked, microphone in hand from the open mic setup. Eleanor's smile was serpentine. "I'm here to save you from yourself. Sign the papers, sell the cafe. Or this video goes viral. Your father's name dragged through the mud he hated." The betrayal landed like a gut punch. Not just the deepfake, but invoking dad again, weaponizing grief. Charlie stepped forward, voice low. "Leave. Now." One lawyer smirked, unfolding documents. "Or we sue for everything, including custody of your lifestyle influence on the community." Laughter rippled, nervous, then defiant. The guitarist struck a chord, sharp as a challenge. Celeste's pulse thundered. This was it, fold or fight with everything. She grabbed the mic. "Everyone listen." The room stilled. "This woman, my stepmother, tried to destroy what we've built. Refused to pay, shattered our peace. Filed lies to take it all." Tears welled, but she blinked them back. "Because I love a woman. Because I chose family over her hate." Murmurs swelled to cheers. A drag queen in the front row hooped, "Amor Vence." Eleanor faltered, color draining. "You're hysterical. This is blackmail." "No," Charlie cut in, pulling out her phone. "This is truth." She hit play. The real CCTV, crystal clear. Eleanor's shove, her sneering exit. Gasps echoed. The videographer lowered his camera, face ashen. Celeste turned to the officer she'd quietly called, stationed outside, per Ruiz's tip-off after reviewing the original report. "Arrest her. For fraud, extortion." Eleanor sputtered as cuffs clicked. "Not tight but symbolic." "You can't." "I'm." "Anyone." Celeste finished, voice breaking but unbroken. "No one." As they let her out, the cafe erupted, hugs, toasts with cava. Charlie pulled Celeste close amid the chaos, foreheads touching. "We did it." But in the quiet aftermath, sweeping confetti from the floor, Celeste felt the weight lift, then settle differently. Eleanor's parting glare promised appeals, but the community's fund had swelled to 20 grand. The journalist's follow-up. Bold stand saves hidden flower. Weeks later at the cemetery again, this time under blue skies, Celeste left not lilies but a photo. Her and Charlie at the counter, arms linked, smiles real. "We're okay, Dad," she whispered. "Better than okay." Charlie added a pebble painted with a tiny heart. "For the roots." Back in Barcelona, La Flor Oculta bloomed fuller. New mural by Charlie, depicting 2 women entwined in vines, faces like theirs but timeless. Eleanor faded to emails from her lawyer. Settlement offers, then silence. Rumor had it she sold the gallery, retreated to a villa in the hills, alone with echoes. Celeste and Charlie married that summer in Sitges, a small ceremony on the beach. Vows exchanged with the sea as witness, rings etched with para siempre. No stepmoms, just chosen kin, baristas, artists, the elderly women from the cafe, rosaries tucked away. Humanity, Celeste learned, wasn't in bloodlines unbroken, but in stands taken, loves claimed. In the cafe's courtyard under bougainvillea that defied stone, she and Charlie danced to flamenco on lazy evenings, bodies swaying to rhythms of resilience. Betrayal had cracked them open, but from the fissures grew something unbreakable. A life bold and blooming. The wedding glow lingered like sea mist, but reality's tide pulled Celeste under fast. September brought rain to Barcelona. Relentless sheets that turned the Gothic quarter's alleys to mirrors of gray sky. La Flor Oculta adapted. Hot chocolate specials, poetry slams by lantern light. But the numbers whispered warnings. Eleanor's legal ghost haunted the books. Court fees nipped at profits, even as the GoFundMe echoes faded. Charlie threw herself into a new series. Portraits of queer elders, faces weathered by Franco's purges, now soft in reminiscence. For the archive, she said, charcoal smudging her cheek as she worked late in the loft. Celeste watched from the kitchenette, stirring paella that bubbled too vigorously, her mind on spreadsheets. "You're burning it," Charlie teased, rising to stir. Their fingers brushed, sparking memory of vows. "In storms and sun I choose you." Celeste leaned into her, inhaling paint and saffron. "Just distracted. The accountant says we need a loan for the expansion. That courtyard greenhouse for year-round herbs." Charlie's eyes lit. "Do it. Make it ours." But doubt lingered, Eleanor's voice a phantom, delusion. Celeste had blocked her number, but nightmares replayed the siege. Shards of cups, sirens wailing. Therapy helped, a queer counselor in Example who unpacked the grief like tangled yarn. "Your stepmother's betrayal isn't yours to carry," she'd say. "It's her fear projected." Still, Celeste carried it to the cemetery that October, alone this time. Charlie had a gallery deadline. The cypresses sighed as she traced Dad's name. "She almost took everything," Celeste confessed to Stone. "But we held." A rustle footsteps. She turned, heart-lurching. Not Eleanor, but a woman in her 60s, bundled in wool, holding a faded photo. Ramon's girl. Her accent was Andalusian, warm as sun-baked clay. Celeste nodded warily. "Yes." The woman smiled, crinkling eyes. "Isabel. Your father's cousin. He wrote me before. Well, said to look after you if." She pressed the photo into Celeste's hand. Dad, young, arm around a boyish Isabel at a fiesta, both laughing under lanterns. Tears pricked. He never mentioned family secrets. Isabel sat on the bench, patting the spot beside. "Eleanor? She married for the villa, not love. Ramon knew. That's why the trust fund clause only activates if you claim it on your terms." Celeste's breath caught. The fund, 20,000 euros, buried in paperwork she'd ignored. "Why now?" Isabel's gaze softened. "Saw the article. Proud of you, Miss Sabrina. Like him." They talked till dusk, stories of Dad's youth, smuggling books during the dictatorship, his quiet support for underground queer circles. Isabel promised visits, a bridge to blood not poisoned. Driving home, Celeste gripped the photo, a talisman against shadows. The loan came through, buoyed by the fund's unlock. Greenhouse construction began. Glass panes fogging with seedlings, a nod to growth amid ruin. Charlie painted the sign, Jardin de Flores Elegidas, her brushstrokes fluid, alive. But betrayal's echo resurfaced in November, crisp air carrying whispers of winter. A letter arrived, not from lawyers but handwritten. Eleanor's script, elegant and edged. "I've reflected. The villa half is yours. Meet me in Madrid. Neutral ground." Celeste stared at it over breakfast, Charlie's foot nudging hers under the table. "Trap? Or truce?" Celeste's voice wavered. Therapy echoed. "Closure isn't forgiveness, it's release." They went, train rattling through olive groves, Charlie's hand a constant anchor. Madrid gleamed under holiday lights, Puerta del Sol thrumming with chestnut vendors. Eleanor's gallery was in Salamanca, all white walls and abstract sculptures, cold as her demeanor. She waited in the back office, aged somehow, lines deeper around her mouth. No entourage, just tea steaming on porcelain. "Sit." Charlie perched on the desk's edge, protective. Celeste took the chair, locket glinting. "The villa." Eleanor's nod was curt. "Deeded half. Papers here." She slid a folder. "But I want to know why the police."
Public spectacle.
Celeste's laugh was sharp. "You started it. Refusing, breaking. To wake you." Eleanor's eyes darted to Charlie. "From this phase." "It's not a phase. Charlie's tone was steel-wrapped in silk. It's us. Silence stretched, brittle. Then Eleanor sighed, deflating. Your father. He loved you. More than me always. I envied that. Feared losing it to your choices. The confession cracked something. Not absolution but understanding. Betrayal born of insecurity, not malice pure. Celeste leaned forward. He loved you too once. But you chose walls over bridges. Eleanor flinched. I was raised in them. Post-war Spain, survival meant silence. Charlie softened fractionally. We break them. For each other. The meeting ended awkwardly. Handshakes, not hugs. But as they boarded the train, folder heavy in Celeste's bag, she felt lighter. The villa. A retreat perhaps for honeymoons or quiet weekends. Not home but heritage reclaimed. Winter deepened. Barcelona's Christmas markets twinkling with turnstiles and carols in Catalan. La Flor Oculta hosted Noche de Amor. Storytelling night for queer voices. Proceeds to a shelter in Gracia. Celeste emceed, voice steady under the lights, sharing snippets of the siege. Not as trauma but triumph. Charlie's portraits debuted there, hung amid garlands. Isabel came, bringing cousins Celeste never knew. A tapestry of Vegas, threads long frayed but mending. One uncle, grizzled and gay, clapped her shoulder. Ramon toasted you with his bad sangria. Laughter flowed, cava too. But mid-story, a young poet recounting family rejection. Celeste caught a figure in the doorway. Eleanor, coat clutched, face pale under street lamps. She didn't enter, just watched, then slipped away like smoke. Go, Charlie murmured, reading her. End it right. Celeste dashed into the rain-slick street, heels splashing puddles. Wait. Eleanor turned, umbrella blooming. I saw the lights. Thought to see. Celeste shivered, coatless. Come in. Hear the stories. A pause eternal. Then Eleanor lowered the umbrella. Rain beating her hair. Just one. Inside, the warmth enveloped, voices weaving tales of loss and love. Eleanor sat in the shadows, listening as the poet finished. And in the breaking we found wings. Applause thundered. Eleanor joined, tentative. After over-mulled wine, words stumbled. I'm sorry, Eleanor said, voice small. For the cup. The lies. Your father, he'd want this. Celeste nodded, throat tight. He would. Start small. Coffee next week. Eleanor's smile was fragile, real. Black. No sugar. As she left, Charlie pulled Celeste close. Bold again. Spring unfurled then, fierce and green. The greenhouse thrived. Herbs scenting the air with basil and mint. Celeste and Charlie planned a trip to the villa, scouting renovations. A studio for Charlie, a library for Dad's books Isabel unearthed. But conflict simmered, subtle. Eleanor's visits grew. Awkward teas, stilted questions about the menu. One afternoon, as Celeste ground beans, Eleanor ventured. That mural Charlie's? Is vivid. Celeste braced. It's us. Proud. Eleanor sipped. Eyes on the entwined figures. I read about Franco's camps. Friends. Lost. I was afraid for you. The admission hung, a bridge half-built. Fear doesn't justify hurt, Celeste said gently. No. Eleanor set down the cup, paid for €3 exact. But understanding might. Charlie, watching from the pastry case, met Celeste's gaze, progress. Yet betrayal's scar itched when Eleanor suggested over email, a family dinner. Madrid. Bring Charlie as guest. Celeste's reply, partner. Family. Eleanor agreed, but the word guest lingered, a thorn. The dinner was in a quiet bistro near the gallery, linen napkins and candlelight softening edges. Eleanor's brother joined, Celeste's uncle, affable with wine stories. Laughter came, halting then free, but as dessert arrived, Terejas dusted with sugar, Eleanor leaned in. Celeste, the trust fund. I adjusted it. For the café. Gratitude swelled but caution tempered. Why? To atone. Her eyes flicked to Charlie. For seeing her as the problem. Not my own. Charlie's fork paused. Takes guts to say. It does. Eleanor's voice cracked. I lost Ramon to silence. Won't lose you to it. Tears brimmed, shared. Hugs followed, awkward then warm. Outside, under Madrid's stars, Celeste whispered to Charlie. Healing hurts. But it's human. Back in Barcelona, the Café pulsed with summer prep. Outdoor seating expanded. A Pride Month collab with local winemakers. Isabel's visits brought recipes. Andalusian gazpacho tweaked vegan. The family wove tighter. Threads of Vega blood and chosen love. One evening as they closed, a package arrived. From Eleanor. Inside, Dad's old journal pages yellowed. Entries of love for Celeste, quiet pride in her strength. A note. He wrote this after your letter. Read together. They did on the loft's rug, Charlie's head on Celeste's lap. Words blurred with tears, my girl blooms fierce. Let her. Climax echoed in quiet now, not sirens but heartbeats sinking. Betrayal transmuted to bridge. Conflict to conversation. Humanistic, yes, flawed people fumbling toward light. Autumn returned. Leaves turning the Ebro Valley gold as Celeste and Charlie drove to the villa. The coastal road wound like a promise, sea crashing below cliffs where gulls wheeled. Eleanor's half-deed felt surreal. Keys jangling in Celeste's pocket, unlocking not just doors but chapters. The house loomed. Whitewashed terracotta roof sagging under bougainvillea neglect. Inside, dust motes danced in sunbeams, furniture shrouded like ghosts. Charlie sneezed, grinning. Our haunted honeymoon? Celeste laughed, spinning her into a waltz across warped tiles. Renovation romance. They mapped dreams. Charlie's studio in the turret seaview easel. A courtyard kitchen for paella nights. But upstairs in Dad's old room, Celeste paused at a locked drawer. The key fit, letters spilled, tied with twine. Dad's handwriting to Isabel, confessing love for a man in his youth, silenced by war. To Eleanor, pleas for openness. To Celeste, unfinished. Be the voice I couldn't. Charlie read over her shoulder, breath hitching. He was like us. All along. Celeste clutched the pages, betrayal's final unravel. Not just Eleanor's but the silences of generations. We break it here. They spent the weekend painting, walls cream, not stark white, Charlie's murals blooming. Jacarandas entwining with olive branches, symbols of roots reclaimed. Eleanor arrived unannounced Sunday, picnic basket in hand. Thought to help. Awkward at first, sanding floors, stories stumbling. But over gazpacho on the terrace, waves serenading, walls crumbled. Ramon wanted this place for you, Eleanor said, eyes on horizon. Not me. Celeste poured wine. For all of us now. Nods tentative alliance. Eleanor left with paint in her hair, promising tools from Madrid. Back in Barcelona, La Flor Oculta crested a wave. The greenhouse yielded first harvest. Mint for mojitos, lavender for scones. A festival invite. Barcelona's Queer Lit Fest. Celeste reading from a memoir draft. Bold stands and hidden flowers. Rehearsals in the loft. Charlie heckling gently. More drama. Laughter dissolved nerves. The night arrived, venue packed. Isabel in front row, Eleanor's empty seat a pang until she slipped in late, nodding approval. Celeste's voice carried. The hook of the siege, the ache of betrayal, the bloom of love. Applause thundered. Book signings followed, hands clasped in solidarity. Charlie's portrait sold. Proceeds to the shelter. We're unstoppable, she whispered post-reading, kissing Celeste amid confetti. But life, humanistic, dealt twists. Winter brought illness, Charlie's flu stubborn, turning to pneumonia. Hospital lights harsh, monitors beeping. Celeste paced corridors scented with antiseptic. Fight it, she urged, holding clammy hands. Eleanor visited, bearing soup. Ramon hated hospitals. Said they steal souls. Celeste's glare softened. Not this time. Charlie rallied, discharged to the loft with IVs and banter. See? Bold even in bed. Recovery stretched. Mornings Celeste brewed ginger tea. Evenings Charlie sketched from pillows. The cafe ran on autopilot, baristas stepping up, community dropping meals. In quiet, vulnerability deepened bonds. Scared me, Celeste admitted one night, stars through skylight. Losing you. Charlie's fingers traced her jaw. Not going anywhere. We're etched like your locket. Spring healed, tentative. Charlie's strength returned with the solstice. They hiked Tibidabo, city sprawling below like a love letter. At the summit, under Sagrat Corps' shadow, Celeste knelt. Not proposal but vow renewal. Again in sickness, in bloom. Charlie's yes was tear-choked. Rings slipped on over paint scars. Eleanor hosted the anniversary, Dad's, not theirs, at the villa. Tables groaned with tapas. Cousins mingled with café kin. Toasts rang. Isabel's to resilience, Charlie's to chosen paths. Eleanor raised glass last, voice steady. To Ramon. And the family he dreamed. No betrayals shadowed, just clinks and cheers. Later on the beach, Celeste and Charlie walked barefoot, waves lapping ankles. Human, huh? Charlie said. Messy, but ours. Celeste nodded, locket warm against skin. Ours. Years folded then, seamless. La Flor Occulta franchised. A sister spot in Sidge's, murals linking them. Charlie's gallery show. Stands taken, Eleanor's purchased the centerpiece. Celeste's book hit shelves, forward by her stepmother. From siege to sanctuary. Betrayal became backstory. Conflict the forge of strength. Their love, deep, dramatic, romantic, wove through humanistic core. Forgiveness not forced but earned. Stands not solitary but shared. One dawn, courtyard dew kissed, Celeste brewed coffee. Black, no sugar for Eleanor visiting unbidden. Habit, she quipped. Eleanor smiled, real. Better with cream now. As they sipped, Charlie joined, hand in Celeste's. Barcelona awoke, bells tolling. Bold stands echoed in every petal, every pulse. A life fully bloomed.